interesting to have a look underneath the bags of fertiliser. How about this one? In today's video, I'm going to be doing some autumn work on my English Elm Pre-Bonsai. What's happening, bonsai friends? It's been a couple of months since my last video. Since the late summer, I've simply been letting the trees grow and then waiting for the foliage to turn and drop. So I've not really been doing much until now. So I'm going to go and get the English elm that I did some work on a couple of videos back. I'll drop a link somewhere. It's time now that the leaves have mostly dropped to do maybe a bit of pruning, cleaning up, and perhaps a bit of wiring just to set any wayward branches in place. But let's go get it and we can have a look. Oh, damn it. Oh. Oh. Did not think this through. There we go. We got it. Okay, so here it is. Let's just turn it around for you. During my last video in the middle of the summer, we defoliated because it was super healthy. We wired out the branches and we did a bit of pruning to direct the energy of the tree into the apex to build a continuation of the trunk line. We put some movement into those branches and then let it grow. As you can see, it's grown quite well. The lead has really taken off and just gone whoosh straight towards the sky, which is great, just what we wanted. It's mid-November now. We've had a couple of weeks of pretty rainy, windy weather and most of the leaves have gone, but we're still within the ideal window to be performing this work. But I'll talk a bit more about timing a bit later. Let's get rid of the remaining leaves and then we'll have a closer look at the structure that we're left with. Okay, so that's all of the foliage removed. I'll just talk a little bit about the timing of the work that I'm doing. According to a couple of streams that Ryan Neal produced over on Mirai Live, not sponsored. Now is a good time to be doing work on deciduous trees. It's mid-November, and just to summarise a couple of the indicators that Ryan pointed out in those streams, I'm looking for the green pigmentation to be reabsorbed by the tree and for the foliage to start dropping. This indicates that the tree has absorbed the nutrients back from the leaves that it needs to prepare itself for the winter ahead, and it tells us that we are safe to do pruning. We won't be excessively weakening the tree by doing so. I will also put a link down in the description to a Walter Pohl article outlining his hedge pruning method, and in that he also gives an indication that after the leaves have fallen is a good time to be doing pruning. I highly recommend that you check out those resources because there's an absolute ton of information. So I'll be pruning any unwanted growth and cleaning out those crotches to prevent excessive swelling. Where the desired thickness has been achieved in the primary structures, I'll be pruning back to the silhouette in order to prompt secondary ramification to develop in the coming growing season. I'm going to cut the leader back to transition more energy into the lower branches, which are looking a little weaker. But first, I'll go through the branches and clean out those crotches, remove any undesired growth so that we can really get a good clean look at the structure that's within. Here on this branch we've got a couple of pieces of unwanted ramification around this crotch. Definitely don't need this piece on the inside of that bend. Another piece on a crotch there. Here's an area that needs some, we could use some cleaning. Here's another little one that can go. Okay, that is the first phase of the cleaning done. Let's have a look at the leader now, I think. As you can see, I've let the thing grow in order to thicken. The reason that I've been growing out this leader is because, as you can see, the trunk has been planted with a nice lean to it. But looking at the features of the tree, I can't help but wonder if the best potential front are somewhere off this corner, or perhaps somewhere off this corner. That being the case, the main trunk is leaning away from the viewer, so I wanted to give myself the option to bring the leader and therefore the main weight of the foliage back towards the viewer so that it engages a little more. So we need to make the decision, where do we cut back to? So we've got this piece of secondary growth here, or we've got this piece of secondary growth here. This section of the leader is quite straight and I think it's probably too tall, so what I'm going to do is cut back to here. Knowing the species, we'll get plenty of backbuds along here and we'll get even more choices about how we continue to develop the apex of the crown. Cutting back to here will give us the best line. Oh, that's a disaster. So that's that removed. I don't know whether you noticed, but we got a bit of a split here. Where I made the cut, the top came away at an angle and it's just split the bark here, so I'll repair that. Before I repair the split, just clean that cut up. I will just put a bit of cut paste on that, just to maximise the chance of that healing nicely. And then to treat the split, I'm going to use a bit of callus mate, just a nice dollop of callus mate, and there we go. That was a bit of an ambitious cut with the side pruners really, but I've pasted that wound, and this being such a strong, aggressive species, I'm quite confident that that's going to be perfectly okay. It'll continue to grow strongly and heal in no time at all come the spring. Initially, I'm going to cut the leader back to there, just to set the height of that one. For the time being, just very roughly, let's just cut some of these upper sections back. It's got about 4 branches coming from this junction, and that's got the potential to become problematic because it's going to very quickly swell and we'll have a big knuckle on the end of there. So let's make a decision. First of all, is it outside of the silhouette? No, I think that's within the silhouette, so we'll keep it. The next thing that I'll think about is which one or two of these pieces of growth will I keep? So let's just get rid of that. There's another little one there. So no matter which way I turn the tree, I really like this piece. It's going up and I like the way it drops down. That's really organic. So I'm definitely going to keep this one, and I'm definitely going to remove this straightest section. So just to make our decision easier, let's get rid of that one straight away. Let's take that one off. That decision being made, I can prune back to the silhouette. Here we've got 1, 2, 3, and then the continuation of the leader. I don't want this one because it's on the inside of a bend. And what I'll do, so I'll come in here very carefully as I can, take out the bottom piece, and we can wire that where we need it. There's a similar scenario just in here, so let's just whip that bulge out. And then I think I'm going to take this piece away because it's on the inside of a bend here. And that leaves us with a nice piece that we can train in a rearward direction, this piece here, to continue that line if we need to. Okay, so I'm going to continue to cut back the apical region. Clean out this knuckle. From here upwards, this whole section is competing with the main trunk line that we've established. So with this nice branch in this area and with this branch down here, I think actually I'm going to remove it from this position. So just come in nice and carefully, not too close, with side branch cutters. And we got a much cleaner cut that time, with it being a much thinner branch. If I pull this piece down out the way, hopefully you can see that pruning that section out has reduced the clutter in this area, and the flow of the branch and the main leader here, it just looks much better, much cleaner, less interfering lines. In this area we've got a branch coming upwards here. We've got this piece that goes up and then back down, and then we've just got this random piece heading off in the same direction as the trunk leader. I think I'm just going to remove this piece, as basically unnecessary. Let's see how we can get in here. It's a bit awkward because of that bit up there. Nope. What about this way? I'll tell you what, let's just make ourselves a bit of space. There we go. So in the upper area now, I've done all the pruning that I want to do. I've cut back various bits and pieces. I've left some pieces that probably aren't necessary. But my main goal has been to cut back to the silhouette. And I think we've achieved that now. I've left some pieces a bit longer where we want a bit more thickening to happen. Now in the lower section, the branches down here, I've not removed any length, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to let these grow and run, because I think we need a lot more thickness in this area, and without pruning the upper area of the apex back, that thickening would be very slow. So pruning back here, leaving these alone down here, we're going to get a lot more growth in the lower area and a lot more thickening, and we'll get to where we want to be much quicker down here. Some of the branches in the back, they got a bit shaded this year. I wasn't quite as on it with rotating the tree to make sure it all gets even sun as I should be. I'll let these grow and strengthen, and I'll make sure they get more sun in the summer. So I think that's the majority of the pruning done now. Okay, let's get a bit of wire on this branch in particular, position it a bit better, get some movement, and then we'll go from there, look at some of the other pieces throughout the crown, see if they also could benefit from some wire at this stage. But I'm not going to fully wire out this tree now. Okay, so we've got the wire in place. Now I'll just position these branches roughly how I would like them to sit. Just a gentle wave to it, that's all that's necessary. And then for this branch, it's already got some movement to it, but I just don't like the way it's interfering with this space here. There we go, that feels a bit better. It might be that I need to persuade it into its final position with some guy wire. That's the thickest wire that I've got at the moment, but we can adjust that. I could put a load of wire onto the secondary pieces and get everything laid out nicely, but actually I've run out of time. I've got a couple of other trees that are going to need similar treatment within the next week or two, so I'm going to finish up with this tree now. I will wire out the secondaries before the growing season commences in the spring, but for now I've run out of time, so I'm going to put this tree back into the garden. But first, all that's left to do is to clean the leaves out of the container. I've also spotted a bit of moss that's climbing up the trunk, so I'll quickly give that a clean with a brush and some vinegar. There we go, we've got some leaves off the cherry tree in the garden in there, some off the ash, and obviously plenty of foliage from this tree as well. So the moss hasn't done brilliantly this year. The last few weeks the birds have absolutely ripped it to shreds. You can probably see chunks of moss splaying all over the place. They've had a right good dig in this container. So if anyone's got any tips on how to deter them, that would be fantastic. Just write me down below in the comments. I've cleaned out the soil now. I just thought it'd be quite interesting to have a look underneath the bags of fertiliser to see if any roots had established there yet. How about this one? Look at that. How cool is that? We've got some moss climbing up the trunk a little bit here. In my garden over winter, that's just going to continue to grow and spread. It grows like absolute crazy. So I'll treat that with a vinegar water solution. And once the moss is dead, I'll need to remove it because it will continue to retain moisture and encourage new moss to grow in its place. So I'll brush it off with my trusty toothbrush. I'll give the tree a 360 turn so you can have a look all around it. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Here comes the 360. So we've pulled this branch around a bit into some space to give a bit more room to this branch. This one has come down and back out. We've established an approximate apex, and in the upper region at least, we've roughly pruned to the silhouette of the crown. Again, there's still some work to be done, but I'll come back to that in the spring when we've got a bit more time. Alright, I'm Darren, and thanks for watching.